everybody. Happy Friday. All right. Welcome to the Jezebelle Trinity podcast. And I am your host, Trinity Stella. And this is my co host, Faye Wildcat. Oh, gotta put you on speaker. There you go. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep. You are live.
I'm having a little bit technical difficulties today for some reason.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of those lately here. Must be in the air.
How is everybody today?
How is everybody doing? It's Friday. It's Friday. We made it through another week.
Sober.
Yeah. Showing up for ourselves. Showing up for life.
Owning those wins.
Yes. And those little wins, those little, yeah. So today, we're having a little early, and we would like to share about, I kind of came up with something to kind of guide us. Like 5 ways. There's 5 ways. 5 ways to guard your healing from narcissistic leadership.
First, let's back up. Let's back up first.
All right.
We said we were jumping into that right away. We were gonna define narcissism, recognize the behaviors, and what we can do about it.
Good idea. Good plan. So what is another word for a narcissist?
There really is no other word for a narcissist. Just a narcissist.
Hold on, let me look. Another word would be an egomaniac, egocentric, a boaster, ego tripper, self-seeker, egotist, a braggart, egoist, individualist, and a show-off. So it's all about ego.
Okay, well, this is kind of what I was like. What I had put together is that first of all, it can be both hereditary and a mental health disorder, and it needs to be recognized by a health professional.
To be like diagnosed? Oh, I got it.
There needs to be a diagnosis. They are, due to their environment, they are conditioned to believe that they are special, deserve to be treated better than others, and approach the world according as to they were taught.
Sounds like it. I got a know-it-all. Or it says, here's what I looked up. I looked it up. And this says from the word hippo.com says noun, a person who is obsessively egotistical or self-centered. An individual that routinely solicits attention, typically inappropriately, self-obsessed and entitled individual, acting like a princess, a person who controls others through manipulation. I like that last one.
So you're jumping ahead of the bullet points train.
We're defining what a narcissist is.
Okay. Yeah, because some of those are just their behaviors in it, and I mean their behaviors define who they are, I guess, and so there are actually different types of narcissists as well. there are, let me see it. So you have what you would be like your general narcissist, and generally with your common narcissist, it is about ego and self-centeredness and the need to just be noticed everywhere they go, the center of attention kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a depressed narcissist. And I'm sure there's more than two definitions or two categories of narcissists. I'm sure there are. But the second one is the depressed narcissist. It's a confusing mix of typical depressive symptoms like sadness, hopelessness, with narcissistic traits such as anger, blame, and attempts to control others to avoid vulnerability. They also may present as victims, feel entitled, and exhibit reckless behaviors like substance abuse. Unlike typical depression, their sadness is often accompanied by rage directed at those around them and in fear of exposing their flaws.
Yeah, that sounds
And
about
those
right.
are the real dangerous ones because, first of all, no matter what you tell them, they are not going to recognize their behavior. They're going to deny it all the way through, and they're going to find every way to point it back at you and make everyone else look crazy or there's something wrong with them. They will go to the ends of the earth to cover up their flaws and their wrongdoings. Because the narcissist was taught they are never wrong.
Or learn,
But
yeah.
society, somewhere in the back of their head, teaches them that their actions are wrong. But they don't, because the psychological part, they don't know how to change it. Can it be changed? It's a learned behavior. So yes, it can be changed, but it would take a lot of work and time to change that, and willingness by the individual.
Awareness of self. Yeah. Narcissist. So according to where am I at here? I'm just looking up different definitions. To the Cambridge Dictionary says someone who has too much admiration for himself or herself.
And those are, like I said again, those generally are your typical narcissists who it's about ego or beauty, or accomplishments. And again, that goes back to that environment of which they were raised in. There's so many different factors that play into how would you say, forming a narcissist. So, how do we deal with narcissists?
Let's see here. Well, I was thinking of like narcissistic leadership, because if a narcissist is in a position of authority or power, they're gonna lead that way. Lead through their ego, lead through their selfish, egotistical ways. Because they don't know anything else. How do you know when that's all you know?
So I said it's a learned behavior, and that's what they learn. So That's how they are. So what can we do
To guard?
to protect ourselves from that?
All right. So, number one would be to stay rooted in your own values. Narcissistic leaders love to make their voice feel like law. Anchor yourself in your truth, your ethics, your healing practices. Let their noise pass over you like static. You don't have to tune in. So, yeah, so grasp onto your core values, your principles, and hold on tight through the
Setting
freaking.
your personal boundaries.
Yep. Knowing what your values are and knowing that, that you are acting with integrity. And
And those of us who've dealt with narcissism know that they really try to manipulate and bypass those boundaries. So, like trying to devalue your opinions or your beliefs. Oh, you don't really believe that. You don't really feel that way. Come on now.
make you feel
And
crazy.
they invalidate your feelings. They make your points invalid. They get you to sway with what their thinking is.
They try to, if you're not rooted in your own values and principles.
Sometimes, and this just recently happened, and I'm talking within the last 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours is that, like how I mean that is that, say you speak to a person about concerns about somebody, about this person's narcissistic behavior, and you try to find a way to help that person recognize that narcissistic behavior, and this is on a professional level, so you contact that person about their behavior, and they sway that person into believing what they want them to believe with tears. And this is the only time a narcissist will use empathy, is when it's to protect themselves.
For their
Because
own.
now they're the victim. Somebody's going after who they are. Somebody's going after that, and they're going to do everything they can to protect who they are, including manipulating people of authority into believing them, making the other person bringing up their past or something to discredit them in a way that that other person won't believe them. Yeah, things like that.
Very manipulative, yes. I totally agree. So, number 2, in the 5 ways to guard your healing from narcissistic leadership. Don't internalize their chaos. So their criticism, their gaslighting, or favoritism isn't about you. It's about their control. Protect your healing by refusing to absorb their projections. Return their baggage to sender. So basically, let them.
And there's also so anything you do to interact or avoid a narcissist, just from my experience, it's gonna turn out nasty. Because if you agree with them, they'll even turn around and change their perspective just to keep that argument going, or to keep their view or their belief going.
So
It's about the production for them, and if you're in agreement, that's like it's almost like a snide remark to them, I guess. You know, so it's kind of almost like a challenge, and they have to find another argument because you're agreeing with them and letting them be right.
mm-hmm.
So now it's something else. To like, oh, you're only agreeing with me because blah blah blah, and it's just a vicious circle that, like I say, therapy and treatment, and that person willing to acknowledge their behavior. But how do you acknowledge a whole lifetime of mistreating people or situations that, how is a narcissist going to admit they're wrong or something's wrong with them when they've never done it their whole life?
Well, thank God we don't have to worry about that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like looking in the mirror now at our age and trying to convince ourselves that we're Caucasian. That's what it would be like for a narcissist.
So, which leads us to our third way to guard your healing from a narcissist leadership, from narcissistic leadership, is build to not stay in that cycle, is build a quiet exit strategy. If you're in their system, workplace, organization, community, don't announce every move. Protect your healing by planning your way out or your way through without giving them a map to sabotage you.
Step out gracefully and cautiously. Walk away, not with your back turned, but slowly. Slow and confident steps.
Yep, and move quietly. I guess the less communication, the less interaction that you have with them is, but I mean, I can imagine like personal relationships, somebody you live with, a parent, that makes it kind of hard to, but we are talking about from narcissistic leadership. So I mean, this is where you actually have a choice to not be engaged with the people. But I do feel for people who are in the same home living with somebody who is a narcissist, especially like children or environments that you can't really just escape from. My heart goes out to you.
Yes, it's a very difficult to alive, let me tell you that. That's why I just feel it's important that we allow that recognition of these behaviors and who these people are, because there's a lot of people walking around in the world thinking it's something they did, and it's totally not. And that's where you need to not dismiss their behavior, but not acknowledge it or feel that it's something you did.
Yep, don't own their behaviors. So we got number 4, find allies, not audience. Narcissistic leadership thrives when people are isolated. Connect with others who see what you see. Safe allies can validate your reality and help you stand firm without feeding the leader's ego. So find like-minded people and keep your circle small if you are dealing with narcissistic leadership.
Protect your space and your boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And let's see. Number 5, keep your healing work separate. Don't seek validation from the narcissist leader. Keep your ceremonies, your journaling, your therapy, and spiritual practices untouched by their influence. They can control meetings, but they can't touch your inner sanctuary.
I beg to differ on that. It depends on where you're at. If you're in a facility, they may be able to tell you you can't practice your ceremonies there or do certain things pertaining to your healing.
Yeah, that happened.
That goes back to that. They have to control everything, you know, and if it's something they don't like, you ain't gonna have it either, as long as that person's around.
Did they say you could smudge outside anyway? Or was it just...
Yeah, you had to go up. First it was in the commons area, or out in the commons, and then after that, that person didn't like whatever, and then everybody was told they had to go outside if they wanted to. But there was only one person there doing it, so it had nothing to do with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's hard when you are not an employee. I mean, oh my gosh, I can remember. But when you're actually maybe in a facility with narcissistic leadership as a client, trying to keep your ceremonies, your journaling, your therapy, and your spiritual practices private or not influenced by them. You know, that's kind of difficult, very difficult. And that's because I would believe that they don't understand that, because that's healing practices to help you be better, to bring you outside of yourself and love yourself and think and feel compassion for yourself and others. And narcissists don't feel that way.
It's not a want to or a want not. They can't, because they weren't programmed that way. They don't have those teachings about compassion. Remember, they're brought up in an environment that is very selfish, and the person teaching and guiding them is instilling these behaviors in them and showing them that at all costs it's okay to get that. You do whatever you do, you run over whoever you have to run over, and you make sure that your blanket is tied down tight so nobody can what's under there. It's a dysfunctional family that narcissists come from.
So it's a generational trait.
It's
passed on from...
Some of it can be generational, but it's a learned behavior. That narcissist who's teaching this one, he learned that from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
He was taught that. It's a learned, taught behavior. But it can develop later in life under psychological circumstances, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So if it's taught, that means it can be unlearned. I mean, if you're
Yeah, and
told, if you're told
that's
so
what I
many
said.
times, what?
That's what I said earlier with the extensive therapy and work, but they have to be willing to do it. And a narcissist is not a person who's going to acknowledge that behavior, because then that, for one, means they're wrong.
So
And
could it be like, you know, how people use substances to protect themselves, to numb themselves? Maybe narcissists use narcissism to protect themselves and keep themselves numb. So in order to heal that, they they have to do some serious work, just like we
but
do.
first, they have to acknowledge, and that's the thing, is narcissists don't even think that narcissism exists. If that makes sense. They'll tell you that ain't even a real thing. I'm not kidding. Trust me on this one. They will tell you that is not a real thing. And it's quite scary, because we do have these people that they'll just believe it. The psychological part allows them to believe it and not recognize anything else. It's, I don't know, something else. Or childhood trauma, abuse, select or neglect,
Mm-hmm.
potential underlying genetic predispositions or brain structure differences. And it can also emerge as a survival mechanism or maladaptive response to childhood experiences like inconsistent care, difficult attachment, or cultural factors. So we kind of have to recognize the behavior and individual, before you can recognize a community of these people.
A whole community?
A whole community of these people.
Maybe that was
They
because
have a community and they don't even know it, because they won't go by each other because of their egos. Narcissists don't hang together. They can't stand each other.
And maybe it could have, a community of narcissists could have been created out of a boarding school era, generations ago. So all that trauma could have developed after so many generations into narcissism.
Because of the arrogance that they've seen within the school. And by that I mean, if you really think about it, the overseers of these children were very smug and snide and very powerful in who they were, and they made it known. And these kids were taught that, so they lost that value. They lost the concept of what respect really was. They were taught respect was given and not earned. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the ways that we've lost that teaching in our value in our own people. And you ask that question, and that's, I guess, my best answer is to what I would see and how we lost it, or how it was learned through there.
Yep, follow the path, because I mean, it goes from the schools to generations being ashamed of who they were, to completely losing, to hiding who you were, to coming back. I mean, so in order to find what was lost, you have to retrace those steps through them generations, and like you do, like you do in your own life. You know, when you start healing your life, you have to start retracing your steps and healing things from your past that keep popping up and hurting you. And this is like
I guess like another way I could describe through the boarding schools, like how a child possibly could pick up those narcissistic behaviors through abuse or anything, would be that these children, something's happening to these children in this room over here, and this one child, well, maybe if I just be good and stay by them, and and do everything they ask me to, and they'll give me praise, and I'll be the good one, and they won't do those things to me. So that's where that comes in, that child used that survival mechanism in him to trigger that behavior. Now he's attached to this person who demonstrates these narcissistic traits and behaviors. So now that child is observing this person as he grows up and seeing what he's doing and hurting people, even children, just to satisfy their own ego or their own personal satisfaction.
Yep.
Of whatever.
Yes.
So now that child, even though traumatized, is doing what the only thing that child knows how to do is to survive. And that's what that child would come up with for a survival mechanism. So that's where that teaching comes in, because now he's this priest's favorite or this pastor's favorite over here. And he gets praised every day, whereas other kids are getting beat. So he thinks he's superior and above them now. Now he has that sense of entitlement.
Good point. Good observation. Well, let's end it on a lighter note. It's Friday. let's lighten the air a little bit.
I do want to continue, and I do want to touch base more on the elaboration of narcissism and power.
Okay. So
how different it can look out there versus in the home.
Well, how about,
because it does look different out there. It does look different out there, trust me. And we can talk about that why when we do the next one.
All right. Or we can find somebody, and we can find somebody to come on that, would like to share something about narcissism.
Yeah, that would be good. But yeah, it's a very hard problem to recognize. Is it just ill repute behavior, or is there an underlying issue? And I think a lot of times we dismiss some things as just ill repute behavior when it's actually a condition or what did they call it? Not a disease, like a condition, a disorder.
Yeah, like substance use disorder.
Mm-hmm. And is an addict gonna tell you they're an addict right out? Some of them will, but
no,
generally,
it takes a minute to recognize it. After you hit that wall a few times, thinking, "Oh, damn, this isn't real good for me. Why can't I stop?"
thing, and let's go back to, I just want to touch base on the manipulation part of a narcissist. So, in my experience, a narcissist is this big, powerful person standing over you, pointing their finger in your face, and they're big and tough, and they're just everything, and they throw their shit around no matter how big or small they are, and they're just superior, and they're walking around like this. But the minute you turn around and you call them out on their behavior or their action, or you let them know you figured them out, they're gonna fall to their knees like a 2-year-old child and cry and turn around and say, that person's mean, they're picking on me. That's when you need to just turn around and walk away.
Exactly.
Because those ones are very unwilling to recognize anything. And unless you want to instill the energy and time into trying to help that person recognize their behavior, because that's all you can do is help them recognize it. Nothing is going to change.
Exactly, until they're ready. Until they are ready. So all we can do is help them get ready. God dang it.
So, yes, and let's pray for them. Let's pray for them, because they're here, and in order to coincide with them, they need to change as well. You know, and something obviously has been done to them where they were either taught wrong or they're hiding the abuse they went through all their lives. You know, they're covering up their damage with that, when they walk around taking their fist at people, or, you know, you're gonna do what I say, instead of earning that respect and demanding that respect. You know what I mean? And those are the ones that really, wow. I'm just kind of beside myself. But yes, on a lighter note, it is Friday. If there's anybody out there in Lac de Flambeau listening, don't forget today is Suicide Awareness Walk. I believe it's at 4 o'clock at the Bingo Hall in Lac de Flambeau. Please bring a dish to pass, if you will.
Awesome.
And come walk for a loved one that can't be here with us.
Awesome. That's a good. Yeah, it's been Suicide Awareness Week, hasn't it?
Yes, it is.
And our month, is it the month?
The month.
Oh,
The
okay.
whole month.
All right.
And you're teal and purple today, I believe.
Awesome. Yep. So we'll get your teal and purple on, people. Support Suicide Awareness Month. For all the ones that can't be here today to join us, whose voices we are their voice, who needed to be heard. Alrighty. Well, I hope. Would you like to
I'll
add?
stay on the phone with you.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we are gonna close this session out. You guys have a good week. Miigwech for walking with us tonight, today, this afternoon, actually. And thank you for joining us, talking about narcissistic leadership, narcissistic people, and how to protect your healing. And remember this, healing is not about proving yourself to anyone, least of all to those who thrive on control or manipulation. Healing is about reclaiming your power, protecting your peace, and walking in truth no matter the storm around you. Narcissists and broken systems, they don't get the final say. You do. Stay grounded, stay real, and keep building a life that reflects your worth, not their ego. Until Monday, walk in love, walk in strength, and never forget, we are the ones we've been waiting for. All right, guys, you have a good night. Have a good weekend. Be safe and much love. And I see you. We see you. We see each other. Let's support each other, respect each other, be kind to one another. All right, guys. Peace, love, 100% respect, and Gigawabamin. We shall see you on Monday. All right.